to possess an abundance of common sense and common sensibilities in spite of whatever education they may have. And likewise, their moral character should be unimpeachable. Most of the damage wrought to this republic has been wrought by highly educated men bereft of morality. And I would sooner be governed by a poorly educated farmer whose moral fiber is incorruptible than a Harvard scholar whose moral compass has long since disintegrated. Under no circumstances should they be encumbered by the dictates of petty parochial interests, and the sole desire of their hearts should reflect what is best for both the people they represent and the nation itself. To this end, they must understand our Constitution and the nature of our government. We did not bequeath you a democracy governed by the whims of men and the rule of the mob, nor an empire where a select few wield absolute power over the many. Rather, you inherited a representative republic governed by a constitution that precisely enumerates the powers of the central government, where the rule of law applies to everyone. Most importantly, they and you must embrace virtue, self-reliance, education, and unity, the four cardinal strengths that made America the exceptional nation and greatest force for liberty and prosperity that ever existed in human history. If we strive to practice the virtues of prudence, justice, temperance, and fortitude in a spirit of charity, humility, and patience, no travail or tumult can shake the foundation of our national house. If human passions are not restrained by liberty, by religion and morality, no government would be powerful enough to contend with them. John Adams never once hesitated to point out that our Constitution was made for a moral and religious people, and is therefore wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Only by dint of self-reliance will a virtuous people flourish in liberty and prosperity. The surest way for any government to exercise total power over its citizens is to make them utterly dependent on it for their very means of survival. Be wary of government that does for you what you ought to do for yourselves. Because any government powerful enough to dispense such largesse is likewise powerful enough to take from you all the bounty of your labor. If a virtuous and self-reliant people are properly educated, no seduction of sophistry can mislead them. Mr. Jefferson was quite right when he said that no nation can expect to be free and ignorant in a state of civilization. A knowledgeable citizenry is critical to the longevity of a healthy republic, just as surely as an ignorant citizenry is the most powerful tool a tyrant can wield to destroy it. Lastly, the crowning practical strength of any virtuous, self-reliant, and well-educated people is their unity. And this finds expression in a common language, a common culture, and a common sense of patriotism. The epigram of the United States, E pluribus unum, describes not merely the confederation of 13 colonies united in the cause of liberty and independence, but America itself, a vast melting pot where the living metal of every nation, race, and creed on the planet is refined and amalgamated into a distinctively American alloy of exceptional strength and remarkable durability. Anyone who does not meet the measure of these standards is totally unworthy of any office of public trust, either elected or appointed. And any society that abandons them will be doomed to the same decline endured by ancient Rome, and fall as spectacularly as she did. Fortunately, You have the benefit of a technology far more advanced than any in my time. In our day, there was only the quill pen and the printing press, while you, on the other hand, have the power of electricity, and it facilitates many forms of instantaneous conversation with unimaginable numbers of people over incomprehensible distances. In effect, every one of you is a latter-day Paul Revere, and your horse is the technology you possess.
Yes.
It behooves you to make extensive and unrelenting use of it to alert and inform your fellow citizens of approaching catastrophe. And I do mean to use that word to describe it. I shall be frank with you. The executive branch of the United States government has arrogated to itself a degree of power beyond anything ever imagined or exercised by King George. The legislative branch has become a parliament of corrupt and serviceable villains. The judicial branch is in peril of becoming overrun with jurists more interested in rewriting the Constitution than interpreting it. The once limited federal government is today a bureaucratic leviathan, and its abuse of power dwarfs by any measure in your day the overreaching arrogance of the British government in mine. If you are unable to stop the mad progress of your own federal government, the day will come when the freedoms you presently take for granted will not survive a new dark age of despotism. You must not allow this to happen, for chains and slavery most assuredly will be waiting for you when that nightfall descends. I don't envy you the burden of saving this republic, a burden that has fallen with as much oppressive weight upon your shoulders as the onerous responsibility for creating it fell upon ours. Nevertheless, you are the last hope for liberty, and it is incumbent upon you to ensure that it survives. If you do not face the enormity of the task, then who shall face it? If the decisive blow is not struck now, when, if ever, will it be struck? I assure you that if you have the fortitude of your convictions and the valor to act upon them, while the opportunity to peacefully do so still exists, you may avert catastrophe. On the other hand, if fortitude and valor are absent from that field of political battle, then may God have mercy on you, because an appeal to arms and to heaven will be the only recourse your generation will have against a leviathan far more powerful than any tyranny my generation ever faced. I have no other counsel to offer you apart from what I've shared today, and I pray my words have fallen on eager, willing, and courageous ears. You have been most gracious to favor me with your time and your attention, and for this accommodation I thank you. Before I depart, permit me a few more words, and if you remember nothing else of this day's transactions, I beg you to at least remember this. You are the posterity for whom we hazarded our all, at a great expense of treasure, tears, and blood, to bequeath you the very liberty that is now in dire peril of perishing from the face of the earth. Your generation must decide whether or not you will preserve it for your posterity and ensure they make a good use of it. If not, my generation shall repent in heaven that we endured half the pain to obtain it.